What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we preview the Phillips 66 Big 12 Men's Basketball Championship in Kansas City. We'll talk about the Bears' path and what it will take to win its first Big 12 tournament title. All that more coming up on the show. We'll also hear from head coach Scott Drew. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com. And on our Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod. And follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today over at BaylorPlus.com. It's Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill. Jerry, man, I'm ready, man. This is March Madness. We've been talking about it. The women, they got a little bit of taste. Now we get the men. And, oh, by the way, we got a new listener the other day. Jonathan Hill, your son. It only took 130 episodes before he finally listened. Come on, man. Come on.
Apparently I didn't bring him up right, Justin. I mean, that's on me. But yeah, at least he found it and he enjoyed it. So we got a faithful listener, I'm sure now, right?
Yep. The one star, I now know who it is. Jonathan Hill. Okay. Let's keep it moving here. Man, this is an exciting week. And so let's first talk about what happened yesterday as the Big 12 championship began. Some interesting games. UCF took care of business against Oklahoma State, 77-62. Oklahoma State, they finished their season 12-20. Very disappointing season for them. Their season's over. UCF lives to fight another day. Cincinnati comes from behind against West Virginia, down by 16. They win 90-85, keep their NCAA tournament hopes alive. They got to make a run to make the tournament. They're the 11 seed. Jerry, they had 16 threes in this game. 16 of 42, shot 42%. And yes, a Big 12 tournament record, 16 threes in the opening round against the Mountaineers.
And that was incredible because, when I had looked at one point, they were down like 16. I think somebody said, Cincinnati had a double-digit lead in the first half, so it was just one of those kind of back-and-forth games. And, credit Cincinnati for coming back. I mean, being down 16 about halfway through the second half. And man, they shot lights out. I mean, to hit 16 three-pointers, had a couple of guys hit 7 each. I mean, yeah, this is a team that can shoot it. So, good luck on that, Kansas. That's who they get next. So we'll see how today goes.
Yeah, this is where it really starts to heat up. You got 4 games today. A lot of fun here. UCF against BYU, 11:30. Oklahoma, TCU, a big-time game there for two teams that are still in the tournament, but both really want to win to ensure that they don't slide out or something crazy happens. That's at 2 o'clock. Kansas State against Texas at 6, and then Cincinnati against Kansas in the nightcap. Important to note, Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson, those two are out of the Big 12 tournament. I'm interested to see the line on this, but I have to say, I will say this much. If Cincinnati beats Kansas, it will not be a surprise. And to say that at the Big 12 tournament would be a surprise usually, but in this case, Jerry, I almost would be stunned if the other side went, if Kansas beat Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, minus 2 of your stars. I mean, maybe your 2 best players not playing. I agree with you. I don't like to do that a lot, but I agree with you on this one. If Kansas wins, to me, it's an upset. I don't know what the line will be or what the line is, but I would be surprised if Kansas is able to knock them off. I mean, obviously they still have talent. We're not going to say they don't. I mean, Furphy, I know he's just a freshman, but he's a guy that can score. So they've got guys, but when you're taking out like I said, probably your 2 best players, that's a tough go. So we'll see how they do. And, hopefully it's one of those triple overtime games and both of them play forever and they're just tired as heck going into Thursday.
Heck, let's let this game finish on Thursday. Okay, let's let this game go past Central Time, midnight there. And yeah, Jerry, I appreciate you agreeing with me, but we'll see what the listeners say about some of that. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Baylor, taking on either Cincinnati or Kansas. Let's hear from Scott Drew, his thoughts on the Big 12 tournament.
Well, I think the great thing about the Big 12 tournament is it's not going to hurt you. And if you're in the tournament, you're not going to drop out because there's not a bad loss to be had. If you're in the tournament and you do well, you can move up seed line. So that's a blessing, especially if you got a bye or double bye. So with us, we view it as it's a great opportunity to prepare for the NCAA tournament with so many new players. They run it just like the NCAA tournament with the shoot-around times and how the court works and how you go to the game, the police escort. I mean, all that stuff. So by the time you get to the NCAA tournament, hopefully there's no wow moments and it's a routine. And you like to have routines.
Yeah, Coach Drew is very superstitious, okay, and very routine driven. So I think you already knew that, the listeners. I think you already know that. But yeah, I'll say this much too: the fact that this team is so new, I think you can make a case that this tournament is very important for them because they have so much new players. When you think about, 4 of the 5 starters are new this season. Now they're not really new now, late in the year, but this experience, Jerry, they had a little bit of this. You got to go all the way back to November when you're playing there at the Barclays and some of those experiences. But this is a unique one where you got an opportunity to play 3 games in 3 days. And so this experience could really help this team for the big dance, which starts next weekend.
Yeah, and obviously it's not exactly like the NCAA tournament, but like Scott said, it's structured, it's formatted a lot like that. The press conferences, the whole bit. So I think this will be a great experience for them, no matter what happens. Yeah, but you'd like to see them make a run. We'll get into that, but I don't know that it affects their seeding that much one way or another. I'm not sure if they can move up to a 2 line, but either way, I don't know that their seeding is going to be hurt that much by this tournament. You can maybe help it a little bit, but they're not going to fall. So I think they can only help themselves. And you're right. I mean, a lot of these guys, they've never played in the Big 12 tournament. Even if you look at a guy like Ray J, who has a lot of college experience, but he's never really been in this situation where, good or bad, he's never been in a situation where he kind of already knows that he's in the NCAA tournament. He doesn't have to go win this Big 12 tournament, but I think it's important to him. He really wants to go win this Big 12 tournament. And I think that's kind of the mindset that most of these guys have. But that's where I think this will help prepare you again, another step, another, whatever you want to, another rock in the wall, that kind of thing. I think this will help prepare you for the NCAA tournament the way that whole season has. Certainly the way that the Big 12 grind has, but it's kind of that postseason. This is where postseason starts. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what they bring, but they've got a chance to win this one, Justin. I really believe that.
Here's Coach Drew on winning a Big 12 tournament title.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, every year you go to the Big 12 tournament, you bring folders on other teams that you might play, and normally in the other bracket it might be 1 or 2 folders, and this year it seems like you're bringing a ton of folders, and I think that's college basketball. I mean, you look at it. I heard this stat the other day that we're one of 4 schools to have won a game in the tournament in the last 4 years. I mean, you think about it and all the name schools and all that, you just assume everybody's going to the Sweet 16 every year. And, I mean, 1 of 4 to win 1 game. That's it the last 4 years. It's hard to do, and we've been the top 3 seed 4 straight years, and there's only 4 schools that have done that. The only school to win 11 or more the last 5 years. I mean, you just assume – and it's just the parity and how everything changes so quick. It used to be like building where, hey, you got 80% of your team coming back. They're going to be good. Now it's like everybody's coming back with 30% and 20% and 40%. You don't know what you're going to get.
That is exactly that last line, Jerry. What I think our fans and really what the college basketball world will see over the next month. You don't know what you're going to get. the parity in college basketball, and this is why I've always leaned a little bit more on the basketball side than football. There's more parity in college basketball than there is, especially on the men's side. Women's has really come up, though, on the men's side than any other sport and really across the country. And so that's why it makes it so fun. And I just think it's so unpredictable.
And I think the Big 12 is kind of a microcosm of that. It's, you've got 14 teams, and we just talked about, West Virginia took Cincinnati. West Virginia is the 14th seed in this tournament, and they took Cincinnati down to the wire and had a double-digit lead in the second half. So, and I think you look throughout the conference, throughout this bracket, whose tournament is it to win? I don't know. I don't know that every team can win it. But I think you're going to see that every team will have a chance. Like, I think we mentioned the Kansas State-Texas game. That may be like a play-in to get to the NCAA tournament. They're both kind of on the fringe. Maybe Texas more in than K-State. But I mean, those two teams have a chance to play their way in. So they're going to be hungry. So it'll be interesting to see just across the board. But I do like the parity, like you mentioned, across the nation, but certainly in this conference. There's a parity. I know Houston was really good, but there's a parity in this league that I don't know that we've seen before.
Yeah, I think Texas is fine. Texas is good. You look at the nets right now. Houston #1 in the net, #1 overall in terms of the AP and the USA Today polls. Texas right now, they're 25 in the net. TCU and Oklahoma, 40 and 43. Joe Lunardi has both those teams in. He's got TCU as one of his last kind of 8 in. Cincinnati's a team, though, is creeping up. They were 41 in the net entering Monday. And so there's opportunity for Cincinnati, and that's why they're a dangerous team, a hungry team. And we'll start to focus in now on Baylor's possible first-round opponent, Cincinnati or Kansas. And both those games, you think about the regular season, Jerry, there was nothing easy about this regular season. But Cincinnati, we played them in just the third game at the Foster Pavilion. You got to go all the way back to January 13th. So almost 2 months to the day, defeated them 62-59. They're a scrappy team. They're going to fight to the finish, and they're trying to fight for their NCAA tournament lives. Baylor's good, right? Baylor's just got a seeding situation. You could go from a 3 to a 2, and we'll get into more of that here in a sec. But Cincinnati, they're a dangerous team right now, and they'll catch some momentum here if they can pull off against Kansas, a beaten Kansas in terms of banged up. Kansas, we obviously know we split the series with them. Kansas won in Lawrence, and we won in Waco. But it's not going to be an easy game in that quarters. I mean, you got either Cincinnati or Kansas.
Yeah, Cincinnati is one of those scary teams. You see that across the nation in conference tournaments. Those teams that know they're kind of on the fringe and they've got some work to do to get in. Cincinnati's one of those teams, but they're in a position to do it. They survive. They get through that first game. That was big. Obviously, I think if they lose that first one, they're done. They're not going to get in if you can't get past West Virginia. So they got past that one. If they can get a quality win against Kansas, that could be enough. But if you beat Kansas and Baylor on back-to-back days, I think you've written your ticket if you do that. So we'll see. I think Cincinnati will come out hungry. But think about that, Justin. This would be, if they get past Kansas, this would be their third game in 3 days. And, man, that's a grind. And probably, I don't know how the game with Kansas will go, but they could all be, really like that, just where you're grinding and you're trying to get one. And so they might be a little spent by the time they play Baylor, if that's who gets through.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. And, hey, for our purposes, we hope they are spent, right? We hope they're playing into Thursday morning. Jerry said triple. I'll go ahead and say 5 overtimes. Okay, let's just make that happen. Let's put that into existence. But yeah, I think that's the piece, right? You got a team that maybe if Cincinnati's able to pull off the win over Kansas, and like I said, like we both said, not really an upset because Kansas is down its 2 best players, 2 first-team all-conference players in the Big 12, might add you earlier this week. And so, they got momentum and confidence, but the thing they don't have is maybe tired legs. So we'll see how it all shakes out, but that's fun there. If Baylor's able to get past this quarterfinal matchup, you're going to be looking at either K-State, Texas, or Iowa State. Iowa State will be the favorite as the 2 seed. So you could see Iowa State in the semis going, projecting a little bit here, but we're previewing the Big 12 tournament. If you're playing Iowa State at the T-Mobile Center, that's Hilton South. What does that mean, Jerry? Does Iowa State really take over the stadium?
Absolutely, they do. It's funny because I think Iowa State takes it over really more than Kansas or Kansas State, and even when Missouri was in the league, it's very much Hilton South, and man, they just come out in droves. It's like there's nothing else to do in Ames, Iowa, but drive down to Kansas City and go to this Big 12 tournament. They have made this kind of their home. I think probably a lot of them take vacation time, and they use this to load up the van and come to Kansas City. So I expect a full house. Here's an interesting thing though, Justin. Would you rather go against Iowa State and the whole Hilton South, or possibly play Jerome Tang again? Scott Drew has not beaten Jerome Tang yet. He's 0-3 versus Tang. So I don't know. I mean, this could be, and again, K-State is real close too. So K-State could have a great crowd there. So maybe your preference would be Texas, since they're not going to travel as well. But yeah, that would be interesting. That's on down the road. Let's get past that Thursday game, and then we can look at the semifinals.
Yeah, K-State. That would be good to get that monkey off her back and win that game. Texas, always good to beat the Longhorns again. We took care of business against them just a few days ago. Iowa State, to see them again. The earlier meeting, let's hope it's not as wild as that game. That was the wildest game I've ever seen. Of course, Coach Drew had to watch that one from the locker room. But we got the win. We can laugh and smile about it now. But let's hope that game, if they do play, is not quite as wild as that. And if Baylor's able to go past Iowa State, you could be seeing the Houston Cougars. There also could be some upsets over there where a Texas Tech, a TCU, a BYU, an OU, a lot of options there. But if it was Baylor versus Houston, an all-Texas battle, I think that might be the first time if that was the case. I know Texas has won the Big 12 tournament title 2 of the last 3 years. And before that, no team from Texas has ever won a title. But to have 2 teams, that would be pretty unique. And that would be a battle. I mean, I don't care how you slice it. These games are going to be high TV ratings. They're going to be adrenaline rushes. You're going to have your high blood pressure nearby, your medicine, some Tylenol, some water. It's going to be intense.
You're getting pumped up there, Justin. I can feel the excitement there. Like you're ready. Like I think Scott Drew wants to put you into the game. You're that excited about this tournament. I am too. I think we've talked about it before. This is one of the best times of the year. I've heard different announcers say this is arguably, maybe not even arguably, the best event in sports. Like Super Bowl is one game. The World Series, that's great, 7 games. But man, spread over 3 weeks, and how many, what is it, 60-something games? I mean, this is the best. It doesn't get any better than this. So it's exciting. Once we get through the Big 12 tournament, we'll find out, where the Bears go for the NCAA first and second round. I'm already ready for that one, Justin, but let's hoist a Big 12 championship trophy, and then we can go on to the NCAAs.
Okay, we'll hold the NCAAs. We need to talk about seeding. Well, let's just forget it. Let's just talk about it now, okay? And yeah, I am fired up, Jerry. You got to match this energy, okay? Coming across your screen and on your listening station, wherever you're listening, wherever you get your podcast. But yes, so seeding-wise, right now, Baylor is firmly a 3. Many believe no matter what happens in the Big 12 tournament, they'll be a 3 seed at worst, okay? And then there's a lot of out there, hey, Baylor wins a couple games. Maybe they get to the title game. Maybe they win the whole thing. Then they can move up to a 2. You're either a 3 or a 2. That's pretty much what everybody has said. Of course, for Baylor, they've been a 3 seed 5 times in its history. Have never been a 2 seed. And we'll have more of that on Sunday. But that is something to play for. Now, at the same time, though, forget the seeding. It's going to come down to matchups. So we don't know the matchups yet. Matchups are more important than seed. And but let's go win a title. Let's go win a title. You get the 2 seed. Sounds good. You get some good matchups, and let's ride this thing in March.
Let's go. I don't know. I don't know what energy I can bring, Justin. I can't match your intensity and your excitement, enthusiasm, but I'm trying. I mean, I've said it before. This is the time of year doesn't get any better. I'm so excited about, what March can bring, hopefully what April can bring. But yeah, it's fun just to kind of be a part of it. I mean, that's the thing. We're a part of this, and we're more inside, I guess, than some people, but really, even as fans, you're a part of this. This is fun. Great time of the year. Support both the Baylor men and the women, and see how far they can go in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I saw Alvin Brooks the third late last night going to the airport, so I know he was excited. Had just watched that West Virginia Cincinnati game and kind of had a feeling like hope Cincinnati got all their threes out of the way, and so we'll see what happens against Kansas and them. Let's go some revisionist history. Let's go down memory lane a little bit here, Jerry. So Baylor is going for its first ever Big 12 tournament championship on the men's side. We have played in a title game, Jerry, 3 times, 2009, 2012, and 2014. However, these last few years have not been so good in Kansas City. Now, I do believe in luck, and sometimes things go in trends and weather, and they're going to turn around. Now, I will say some years we haven't done so well, and it's had no impact whatsoever on the NCAA tournament. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think certainly you can build some momentum in the Big 12 tournament, because Justin, I remember back to 2009 when the men made a kind of a miraculous run to get to the Big 12 championship game and lost to Missouri. But that kind of, they pivoted. They went to the NIT because they had to win. They had to beat Missouri to get to the NCAA tournament. Instead, they got the NIT bid, and they played all the way to the final. They just kind of got on a roll. And I think it all started in Kansas City, because you really got that momentum going. The rock was running down the hill, and there was just like nothing stopping them. So you'd like to see that. You'd like to build that kind of momentum, but I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing to get out of the tournament early. We can look back to 21. You lose to Oklahoma State. I believe it was in the semifinals, and okay, they won the national championship. So I don't know that it did anything to take any momentum away. What Baylor proved that year was, I think they might have been the best team in the bubble. Like, this team was so close that they were going to get it done. And some teams, maybe they weren't so good in the bubble. Maybe they didn't get along. But this was a team that got along. But yeah, like I said, I think the Big 12 tournament, conference tournaments can affect your NCAA tournament. But for the most part, I think the one thing you can get is momentum. But if you don't get it, you get a little more rest, and you can kind of get ready for the NCAA tournament. So I don't know that there's a bad scenario here, really. But like we talked about before, let's go win a Big 12 championship. We need to win. We need to win a trophy, Justin.
Yes, and yes, and so love all that. And yeah, let's take care of business, one game at a time, one day at a time. Now, if you look back, since 2017, Baylor is 1-6 in the Big 12 tournament. They've lost in the quarterfinals 5 times, and that one win was back in 2021 when we did win the national championship. That win in the quarters was against K-State, then lost to Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State in the semis. So once again, I'm just saying that, hey, these things go in trends. We know we got one of, if not the best coaching staffs in all of America. We have a super talented team with 2 lottery picks, okay? We have Ray J. Dennis, who's a crafty vet, Jalen Bridges, who's had a great season, and Langston Love's back, and Jaden Nunn, and you can go on and on and on. This team has the makeup to have a deep run in March. And there's going to be people in just a few days that will pick Baylor to make the Final Four. Now, I'm sure if they make a deeper run in this tournament, there'll be some recency bias, and there'll be a few more people picking them. And so let's just see where the confidence goes. But I think, hey, it's one game at a time. But I do think, hey, these wins would help this particular team, especially getting Langston Love back in the fold, Jerry. He played some minutes against Texas Tech. I think it's not only, and Coach Drew said this, I think this is the piece. It's not only about getting Langston comfortable, but I think maybe it's even more important about getting his teammates, the rotations, all that stuff in line before the big dance starts.
I thought it was huge getting Langston back, Justin. I just think he's I'm not saying he's that glue guy, but man, he's really important to this team and he plays great defense. He gives you such a lift off the bench, could have been a 6-man of the year candidate. I know we talked about that before, but he's just really good. I think he's one of those guys that I think you have to have. And, to get him back and get him some game experience before the Big 12 tournament, I thought that was big. We were talking about Kansas before. They're losing 2 of their best players. We're getting one of our best players back. So we're about as healthy as we can be. And now we've got Langston back in there. And what it did when he was, not able to play is Miro Little, I think, got a lot better. Obviously, he got a lot more minutes, so he was getting some game experience, but I think that helped him. So now you just have another option. Coach Drew talked about that too, that Miro Little is better than he was a couple of months ago. Caleb Lohner is better than he was a couple of months ago. So now you have all those options. And again, we're back to that. We're a really deep team when we have everybody available, and pretty much we do right now.
Langston Love is without question one of the best basketball players on this team. He is the number 1 3-point shooter on the team, according to percentages, 48%. We know what he was like during the season. Didn't have him, for much of February. And yet Baylor kept the train on the tracks. And so now having everybody, all your horses, if you will, everybody, all the families together, now we'll see what this team's made of. And so looking forward to, what's to come here. Jerry, okay. As we finish out, Jerry, I'll have you finish this sentence.
Okay.
Baylor will win the Big 12 tournament if it...
Good. Baylor will win the Big 12 tournament if it gets off to better starts. That's been a struggle lately. And obviously there have been games where they've been able to dig out of that, but they've got to get off to better starts, Justin. I think that's going to be an emphasis, but for whatever reason, they've struggled with that. But you're kind of playing with fire when you do that. And in a tournament like this, where, again, like if you face a Cincinnati team that's really hungry and they get you down early, it's going to be hard to come back against them. So to me, that's one of the big keys is if Baylor can get off to better starts. And, I'll say the defense. I think defense will be a key in this tournament as it is in any game. But I just think the defense, if they can do their job, you think about Cincinnati making 16 3-pointers. If you face them in the quarterfinals, you can't let them make 16 3-pointers. So the defense has got to be locked in, and you got to get off to a better start.
Okay, that's a masterclass right there. That's words of wisdom right there from Jerry Hill. I'm going to say 2 things, Jerry. Turnovers. Keep the turnovers under 12. Under 12 on the turnovers. And 3-pointers, I hope I'm not asking for too much. Turnovers and threes. If we keep the turnovers under 12, and let's make more than 10 threes each game, it's possible, okay? We do those 2 things, I think. Obviously, you're going to have to do some of what Jerry's saying, but basically we take our keys, both of ours, and we mesh them together, and you get a trophy, okay? You bring back a nice trophy to Foster Pavilion. You put that sucker right in the case, and it's nice and shiny. But those are the pieces, and we'll see how it all shakes out here. I'm just turnovers and threes. I think I still think a great offense can beat a great defense. Like it's a new game, right? I know defense wins championships, yada, yada, yada. There's teams, though, in this tournament that can score triple digits, and Baylor's one of them, and then that could beat a lot of teams.
Yeah, we'll see if it can beat Houston. Houston is that team that, they have a great defense. I don't know that I've seen, maybe I'd have to go back to that 21 Baylor team to see a better defense than that. But yeah, I think that would be fun. That would be a great championship game. You talked about it earlier. I believe that would be the first all Texas championship game. Man, that would be so much fun. I don't know what that would do. Hopefully the place is packed. All those fans from Iowa State and Kansas State will just stay up there and watch Baylor and Houston in the championship game.
Yeah, then we can have barbecue discussions and arguments between Texas and Kansas City. Which one's got better ones? Okay, well, going to be a fun week. Looking forward to it. This weekend, all the action begins for Baylor Thursday night, 8:30 Central Time, against the winner of Kansas Cincinnati. That'll do it for today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Wednesday, and sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears.